I'm surrounded. They're all over me. Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Aaron Cherry and this is Cherry Picking. And today we're gonna go over all of the projects that I have here on my property that we're going to be working on here on the channel over the next few years. There's a lot of projects, so I'm gonna go through every single one of them, one by one, and tell you a little bit about them, tell you what they are, and tell you what the plan is for them. And for some of them, you're going to actually see them a lot sooner than others because some of them I've already started working on. So let's get into it. Let's look at all of these projects that I have because I have too many. Way too many. So let's start it off with the project that I'm currently working on that I actually have some videos already up, ready to go, coming out next Friday on this vehicle. And a lot of you may know what this is, some of you may not. It might look super familiar for most of you. This is a 1986 Ford Mustang SVO. Now SVO stands for Special Vehicle Operations, and it was a division of Ford before the SVT program. It was basically created in, I believe, 1980 or 1981, and it became a products team, and this is their first and only vehicle that actually made it out of the program. And it is a Mustang, and it is a little bit special because it's not just a regular Mustang. It is a 5-bolt, 4-wheel disc brake, turbo 4-cylinder that's intercooled, and that's what makes it really strange. SVO decided, wow, that's bright. SVO decided not to go with the traditional 5.0. They did have some performance parts that they made for 5.0, but they decided they wanted to make a road race rally circuit car, a car to go around circuit tracks to beat BMWs at the time specifically. And so the 4-cylinder turbo was a much better and lighter engine than the 5-liter, and yes, it's a little rough around the edges. This is a project that I'm working on here on the channel, but if you know SVOs or if you look them up, they actually do have an awesome bi-wing level spoiler. They have dual exhausts on both sides, and overall it's a pretty cool, it's a 5-speed with a world-class T5. They're really awesome, and this is the very first project you're going to see on the channel starting next Friday. I already have videos of pulling this thing out of its grave because it did not look like this when I first got it out. So next up, we're just going to do a quick pass on this 1979 C10 that I won from Donut Media. If you watched my last video, you already know everything about this. I went through a whole tour on this truck. If you didn't go watch the video, I did a whole tour on this truck. Plus I washed it, plus a few other things. And I did win this truck from Donut Media. But this is not one of the projects you'll be seeing on the channel because, well, it's already done. Next up, we have a 1962 Ford Thunderbird. Now, this car was a project I actually started at the beginning of the year this last year. In the beginning of, actually, at the end of 2021. And I put a new motor in it. I put a rebuilt motor that was a 20-year-old rebuilt motor in this car because the one that was in it had spun some bearings. I drove this car, got it running, driving, and registered. Drove it for an entire week, and on exactly a week after I got it registered and driving, the transmission broke. So you will be seeing this 1962 Thunderbird on the channel. We will be doing a transmission replace with the C6 that I have, and we will be doing the entire car. We're going to be painting it. We're going to be fixing the roof because it's got a bad spot. It is a vinyl roof car. We're going to be fixing the interior and turning this into an awesome driver. So that's one of the more soon projects to come on this channel. So let's go take a look around my property and go look at all of the projects that I have and just kind of quickly zoom by most of them so that you guys can get a taste at what's to come on this channel. So next vehicle on the list, this is going to be a recent one. This is my 1967 F-250 long bed. It is a great little truck. I drove this truck throughout high school, and it was one of my most reliable vehicles. It actually still runs and drives perfectly fine. It has a cracked piston ring on number 8, so it smokes quite a bit. So this truck was my daily, and I wanted to start making it look better, so I did some work to get the paint back to the original because this is actually a very special paint code. It is a factory lime gold paint, And if you know anything about these trucks, it is a manual. But if you know anything about these trucks, lime gold was actually only a special order paint code, and you could only get it in 67 or 68, I believe, maybe 69, but it was special order only. So this truck has a lot of special features, and I'll go over those once I start working on the truck, because this will also be very soon on the channel. I have a well, not brand new. I have a very low mileage 390 that came out of that truck right there, that is sitting in the back right there, that's gonna go in the front there. But the actual plan for this truck eventually is to drop a 465 speed. I have the 5-speed and I have the 460, but it's a much bigger project. So for now, we're just gonna put the 390 in it, get it running and driving again, so that I can have a driving truck again. And if you look behind it, you'll notice this sweet little guy. This is a 1977 and a half Ford F-250 Super Cab 4x4. This is a 4x4. And it is a factory 460 automatic 4x4 Super Cab long bed. And it's been sitting for basically the past 20 years. So we'll do a whole series on this truck as well. So this is a 1971 Super Beetle. This is actually my brother's car, who never ever learned how to drive stick. So I drove it. I drove this car in high school, all for about 3 or 4 months, until I blew up the motor. I actually put a hole in the piston. Since then, I have a motor from another Bug way over there that I dropped in here that actually has low compression on one cylinder, but it does run fine. I do have to do some work to it, but this car doesn't need a ton of work. I need to put new tires on it, but other than that, it doesn't need a lot of work as is. I don't plan on repainting or do anything because this actually isn't my car. This, though, is my car. This is a 1968 MG Midget, and as you can see, it's got a little bit of a doink on the side there.
I am a pious man. No temptation can stray me from the path of God.
You're still pretty, buddy. I still think you're pretty. This actually runs and drives really well. I rebuilt the carburetors. They're SUs, dual SUs, and this car actually is pretty rough. It's been sitting outside for a lot of years, so it needs quite a bit. This is actually a car I plan to do pretty soon here on the channel. It's going to get an entire repaint and basically a pretty miniature restoration. This is a 1965 Airstream Caravelle, so it is a step up from a Bambi. I don't know. It is open, it is creaky. This is actually all original. There's only one slight modification to the inside, but this is all original. Let's close that back up. But if you notice, it doesn't really look like an Airstream because it's tan. Well, the owner that owned it before painted it back in the 1980s, which you could actually see the 80s plate on the back. They painted it because that was the thing to do. So all of the polished aluminum underneath is actually protected really well, so there's no corrosion. So the plan is to put that thing back to original and get it all nice and polished like an Airstream should be. So as we make our way to this part of the property, we'll find the Volkswagen section. This is a Volkswagen section. You can see all the body parts right there. And there's 1, 2, 3 bodies. This body's gonna go away. This body's gonna go away. 4 bodies actually, there's one over there too. That body's gonna go away. That is the one I am keeping. It is a 61. It is a Baja that someone cut the front and the back off of, but it's a 61, so I'm gonna restore that pretty much back to factory. That shed is entirely full, and I mean completely full to the top of Volkswagen parts. Plus I've got all these parts out here lying. All of them are pretty much gonna go away. I've got some W deck lids right over there that I will use. Next up is a 1978, or it might be a 79, crew cab. It is not a 4x4, but it is a crew cab short bed. It is an awesome truck. It was an Air Force truck, so this truck was actually, I believe Astro Blue is what it was called, or Astral Blue, and the interior still has it. It's a really awesome truck. This is gonna get back on the road. We're gonna get that back on the road on this channel, and we will get that thing running and driving. So now we're in what I like to call the graveyard, and you could probably see why. This is where most of my dad's collection has been, at least the good stuff in the collection. And I'm gonna go ahead and go through all of these vehicles real quick. This is a 1957 Nomad. It is a real Nomad. This car was vandalized, so my dad got it really cheap quite a few years ago. Next up right here, this is a 1959 Ford Thunderbird. So you saw the 62 out there. Well, this is a 59. My dad dealed in 59 and 62s kind of by accident. Both cars are really special. This one was actually a factory Ford show car, I believe, that was then taken and made into a 60s custom. I don't know if you can tell, but that paint has a lot of metal flake and pearl in it. And it's pretty rough around the edges. And there's a ton of parts for this car because he's parted out a bunch of 59s and 60s and 58s. But that car, you will see, it is actually running and driving, at least it was about 10 years ago. But you will be seeing that car later on this channel, but that's a much further project. Same with the Nomad. Next up though, we have a really, really cool car. This is a 1969 Cobra Jet Cougar. This is a factory 4-speed that is a Cobra Jet car. It's not a Super Cobra Jet because at the time this car was ordered, it actually was ordered with 390 rear end. If you ordered the 391 or the 430 rear end on this car, it actually made it a Super Cobra Jet and upgraded the motor and a lot of other little things. Well, this car was ordered with 391 rear ends, but during August to November, when this car was made, Mercury stopped all production of high rear gear rear ends. So the 391 and the 430 were canceled out from August to November. So this car actually was delivered with a 353 or something similar to that. And then soon after, the owner actually put a 430 rear end in this car, and we have the 430 for it, but it's a factory 4-speed Cobra Jet 69. It is a maroon car. As you can see, it is in pieces. It is a huge, huge project, but the motor is actually in the garage, completely rebuilt and ready to go. Same with this car, I believe. This is a 1968 Cougar, but this is a special because it's not only an XR7, it's an XR7G, and I don't know if you can see that little special medallion right there. It's an XR7G, and it's not like a 67 Dan Gurney special, but it is an XR7 Gurney special, which is what the G stood for. It's a lot different. 67 was basically just a trim package. The XR7Gs were a much larger package, and this one is really rare because it is a factory sunroof, and there's only a few hundred factory XR7G sunroofs. I don't know the specs on the motor. I believe it's probably a 302 or might be a 390, but I honestly am not 100% sure. So this is a 1967, I believe, Honda Dream, and like I said, I got it out and running, but it needs a lot of work, but you will definitely see this motorcycle on this channel. It doesn't need too much, and then it just needs a light restoration to make it roadworthy. This is a 65 Super Hawk, I believe. I'm not entirely sure on the year, but it is a Super Hawk, and the motor is in pieces in the garage, but both are awesome bikes. This is actually just an extra body, so we're going to skip past this for right now and move over to not this one, but that one. That is a 1959 El Camino, and I don't entirely know every spec on this car. However, this car was actually my dad's first car in high school. Well, technically second because he crashed the first one and then got this one literally right after. But this was his high school car. He got it when he was 16. It is very, very rusty on the roof and in some other spots. I believe on the hood is super rusty. But as you can see, it's still factory paint with the orange and white two-tone. And so that is what that extra body is for. It is actually to fix the rust repair on this car. And right now, it does have a 348 tri-power with a 4-speed on the floor in this car right now. He actually drag raced this car back in the day. I have a bunch of pictures. This might be a later project, but for now, it sits here. We're still gonna skip by this car for now. And we're gonna make our way over here to this 1958 Studebaker Silver Hawk. This is not a Golden Hawk. It does not have a supercharger, and actually, to my understanding, the motor's not even in this car. But this is a car my dad has been dreaming of for years, and he used to do Studebakers a lot. The interior is actually really nice. The dashes on those are worth quite a bit because they're turned aluminum. The plan for this car is to put a 350 that is rebuilt in the garage, just put a Chevy small block, and make it a hot rod. That's pretty much all he ever wanted to do with it. And it is a really nice car. It's got a few problems here and there, but it's actually a really nice car. And so that's what's going to be happening, but that's definitely going to be in the future. Now we're going to make our way to the last and final car of the collection that we will be making a project out of. This one excites me the most because this is actually going to be my daily driver. This car is hopefully going to be one of the most soon projects you'll see on the channel, pretty soon at least, behind the Midget maybe, and behind my 67 maybe a little bit, but you will see this one sooner than most of the rest of these, because this is my dream car, and I have waited years and years and years. I've always wanted it. I used to come out here as a kid and sit in the front seat and just pretend, because I wanted this car so badly. This is a 1969 Ford Mustang Mach 1, and it is a real Mach 1, although clearly the hood's missing some decals and the sides are missing some decals. This is not anything special. It's not a Cobra Jet car. It is a power steering, power brakes, 351, I believe, 2-barrel car, so it's not even super special, although it does have some neat options. Currently, it does have a tilt steering column, it does have intermittent wipers, power steering, power brakes, like I said, and the interior of this car is okay. It's not too bad. The seats are actually in great shape. Won't have to rebuild them at all. This car was in an accident many, many years ago, and so the front clip was replaced, which is why it was repainted and the decals aren't on it. It does have some rust issues, I will not lie. It's got some rust in the doors specifically. They are super rusty, and it got hit again in the back here, so it's gonna need some serious work. But this is a 69 Mach 1, and it is a fastback. There is a spoiler. I don't believe it's a factory spoiler, but it was put on. But I'll go ahead and open up the hood for you. And as you can see, it is nothing uber special. This motor actually was put together pretty badly at the time, and it actually has blown head gaskets. Well, I'm going to fix the head gaskets and get this running and driving, specifically so I can have it as a daily driver. I know that sounds crazy, but this is a dream car of mine, and I want to daily drive it. So I do actually have an extra motor for this car that I will be getting when I buy this car. I have an extra 351 Windsor. It's actually a very close date code motor, but my plan right now is to build that motor and drop it in here with a 4-speed or a 5-speed in the future, because this is an automatic. Like I said, it's really not a special, but it is a Mach 1. And just take you real quick to the interior. I just love these side scoops on 69s. Some people really hate them, especially because they are fake, but I love them. Let's go ahead and open in the interior. And look at that. I mean, it needs some work. It needs some dash pad, and it needs a steering wheel, and it really needs a third pedal and a stick shift. But the seats are in immaculate shape, and there's actually an extra pair of seats in here from another car. Like I said, it took 2 cars to put this one together. The door panels are in really good shape, other than one spot where they tried to put a speaker. I'm gonna finish the job and put a speaker in. But this car is amazing. There's a bunch of extra parts in the back, an extra grille and stuff like that. It is a Mach 1, and you can see that just over there on the other side with the clock. And I will be pretty much semi-restoring this car. It will be a roadsteration vehicle. And as you can see, look at that menacing front grille. It's amazing. I love this car. So this will definitely be one of the first cars you see. It's one of the most exciting for me because, like I said, it's a freaking dream car of mine. So there you have it. I am surrounded by projects here on this property. Like I said, I release videos weekly on Fridays. That is my goal, and I already have videos for that SVO that's out there because I've been turning it into a daily driver. Those videos are coming up starting next week, and there's a whole bunch of them, and it was really awesome because that car was actually sitting right over here on the other side of this fence in its grave, and we pulled it out. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to see these projects on this channel, leave a comment on which project you'd really like to see. I don't have any particular order for most of these other than, like I said, the Mach 1 and the Midget in my truck. Other than that, there really isn't an order on most of these cars. They all need quite a bit of work, so if there's a specific one that you want to see, drop a comment below and let me know which one you want to see on the channel first. I'd love to hear feedback, and if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, do the whole thing you got to do on YouTube, and I hope to see you guys in the future working on these cars. So peace, see ya.